Steve Kinzer tops Daytona Speed Week sprint car action. And in Texas, amateur road racers strut their stuff. Today, MotorWeek Illustrated, live from Richmond, Virginia, Fairgrounds Raceway.
MotorWeek Illustrated is brought to you by Firestone Tires, where we're building radial tires, street legal, competition tough, and proving it every week in the nation's toughest motorsports action. Firestone, the word's getting around. And by Dodge, makers of Ram Tough Dodge trucks. And by Dodge cars that will revolutionize your perspective of the road. We are Dodge, an American revolution.
Hello, everyone, from Richmond, Virginia. I'm Dave Despain, and we're here for the Richmond 400 Grand National Stock Car Shootout tomorrow. Today, we come to you from the Goodies Racing Center with MotorWeek Illustrated. Tomorrow, TBS Sports will have live flag-to-flag coverage of the richest stock car short track race ever run, the $250,000 Richmond 400. And today on MotorWeek Illustrated, a visit with the man who has taken more checkered flags here at Richmond than any other driver in history. We also expect a visit from the man who last week won the richest stock car race in the history of the sport, last Sunday's Daytona 500. That's all coming up. Now, just a short while ago, right below us, the late model Sportsman stars got into action as they completed their Wrangler 150. That was the opening event of a big weekend of action here at Richmond. We're going to take a look at a crash-filled event and see how the highlights went. We started with record setting. Pole sitter Tommy Ellis jumped out into the front. He scorched this half-mile oval with a 97-mile-an-hour track record in qualifying, and he quickly pushed his number 12 out into the lead in turn number 1. Last year's winner, Sam Ard, number 00, was right there. Here we see the start as the green flag falls on Ellis. He looked like he had things really dialed in, but that didn't last very long. Ard came quickly up to challenge. Then there was an early yellow flag, and on the restart, watch what happens. There goes the former national champ Ellis giving way to Ard, who bowled by in turn number 1. A big crash early. Charlie Luck, with no luck at all, gets backwards on the front chute. Number 49, Wayne Patterson, hits him a little bit. Now watch number 30, Bubba Adams, hit him a lot, head on. That stopped the race briefly, but nobody was hurt. Ellis took a trip into the wall while battling Iron Man Jack Ingram for second spot behind the disappearing Ard. At number 6, Tommy Houston charged from 16th spot, challenged for third. Then that challenge ended this way, 3 laps from the end. Yellow flag sets up a 1-lap dash to the finish. Ard comes home the winner over Dale Jarrett and Dale Earnhardt. A great finish to a great sportsman race here at Richmond this afternoon. Now, Ard had a little tougher time last week at Daytona. The late model Sportsman drivers opened their season, of course, with the Goodies 300. That's the annual Saturday preliminary to the big Daytona 500. It featured all of the Sportsman regulars from today's race. Opening up on the Super Speedway, let's take a look at the highlights.
300 is often a demo derby, but this one saw just one major incident. A blown engine spins Dale Earnhardt right in front of Jeff Bodine. Watch 17, Darrell Waltrip near miss. Nobody hurt. Earnhardt goes out early. Bodine and Waltrip both stayed in the race, which saw 35 lead changes among 7 drivers. This is typical action. Sam Ard, 00, defending late model Sportsman national champ, goes to the front. On the next to last trip down the backstretch, it's become the gang of 4. Ard holds the lead over number 83 Lake Speed. In third spot, Bodine, crumpled nose and all. Waltrip at the tail of the quartet. Suddenly, Waltrip throws the book out the window. Everybody else is watching the wall instead of their mirror. Waltrip sneaks from 4th place to 1st with 2 laps to go. Now that defies the typical Daytona strategy. Usually the leader on the last lap is a sitting duck for an inside draft pass by the 2nd place car. But on the backstretch, Ard tries to go outside. A surprise Lake Speed wiggles down low and grabs Waltrip's slipstream. It appears Ard should have taken his 00 the other way. As he goes to the top of the track, his drive stops cold. Bodine drafts under him. In less than a lap, Ard falls from 1st to 4th. Meanwhile, Speed uses all of the racetrack and most of the safety apron, fighting the wheel, looking for a way around Waltrip. speed comes up short. Waltrip by a fender. Great finish to a great race.
Well, of course, the biggest stock car race of the year is the Daytona 500, and Ned Jarrett's going to be joining us in just a few minutes as we take our Motor Week look back at the season opener in Winston Cup stock car racing. With me now in the Goodies Racing Center is our NASCAR correspondent, two-time Grand National champion, Ned Jarrett. Ned, your reactions to last week's 500.
Well, Dave, it was a good, clean race after all the problems they had in some of the preliminaries. A lot of competition. It shows that there's going to be a lot of good racing this year. As usual, drafting was a key factor in the Daytona 500, as we saw it win several of the preliminary races as well as the Daytona 500. Now, let's take a look at the highlights.
When the President of the United States said, "Gentlemen, start your engines," 42 drivers rumbled off in pursuit of a record $1.1 million purse. 201-mile-an-hour pole sitter Cale Yarborough was the headline story of Speed Week until the green flag fell, Ned, and then the spotlight really shifted to the STP Pontiac of Richard Petty.
Well, Dave, he gave the CBS in-car camera a ride. A seven-time winner of the 500. With a new team and problems in the qualifying race, he started way back in 34th place. But Petty passed 18 cars in the first 4 laps, and on lap 39, he drafted past Bobby Allison to take the lead. That was quite a drive.
And joining Richard in that charge was Dale Earnhardt's yellow Wrangler Chevy. He came from 29th spot. The attrition began with Bobby Allison. He fell out with ignition trouble during a caution period. And shortly after the restart, Petty's Cinderella story came to an abrupt end.
The camshaft broke, ending Richard's ride and turning his Pontiac Chariot into a slow-moving crumple.
Didn't have a very happy ending, but that was a great 500 story. Yarborough, meanwhile, repeatedly showed off the beef in his Hardy Chevrolet, moving to the front at will. And as his in-car camera looked on, 2 more pursuers bit the dust.
Dick Brooks blows an engine in his Chameleon Ford, and it goes sideways in turn 4 at 190 miles an hour. Brooks, who was enjoying his second great run in a row in the 500, almost got tagged by Bill Elliott's red Ford Thunderbird, then did get hit by Ron Bouchard. Both cars go spinning down into traffic. Watch the scramble to avoid the follow-up crash. Ooh, that is close.
A lot of sheet metal damage there, but no injuries. And so as the 500-mile drama wound down, another charger from the back of the pack came to the front. Number 11, Darrell Waltrip, started 26th. Now it was his turn to feel the hot breath of Yarborough, who locked onto Darrell's bumper while the rest of the field played bumper cars for third.
Watch Earnhardt and front row starter Terry Labonte touch at close to 200 miles an hour. Neil Bonney goes high, the winner of the previous Sunday's Busch Clash, obviously anticipating a problem that didn't happen.
And so this 7-car draft of potential winners trucked on, but then was reduced to an even half dozen when Terry Labonte smacked the turn 2 wall. And with that, there were 6. Here's how they began the final lap, Ned.
Well, a year ago, Cale Yarborough rode Buddy Baker's draft into the lead on the final trip down the backstretch and won the race. This year, the leader was Darrell Waltrip, who has never won the Daytona 500. Every one of the 130,000 fans knew exactly what was coming.
Sure enough, Waltrip completely helpless as Yarborough hooked into his draft and rode that famed Daytona slingshot all the way to his 4th 500 victory. As Cale roared to the flag, Waltrip tried desperately to hold on to second place. But Earnhardt comes muscling past on the home chute, and that drops Darrell back to third. A good day for the Johnson-Hodgdon Racing team as Waltrip's teammate Bonnet gets 4th, and a great day for Cale Yarborough.
Well, Ned, as you noted, it was a good, clean, safe race, but a series of crashes earlier in the week prompted the local newspaper to dub Turn 4 at Daytona Calamity Corner.
There's a 2-part problem off of that turn, Dave. One is what causes the cars to go out of control. The other is what happens to them after they go out of control. The problem actually arose last year.
Bobby Allison gave that wall a shot in a preliminary to the 83 500. Then in the race itself, Darrell Waltrip clobbered the offending barrier and bounced back into traffic. As we'll soon see, that's one of the frightening aspects of this Turn 4 situation. The problem of wind picking up the cars, tossing them high in the air, emphasized by Ricky Rudd's now famous tumble, though in Rudd's case, the wind actually kept him from hitting the wall. No such help for Randy LaJoie. His crash resembled Rudd's, and his impact heightened fears that a car might sail over the wall into the crowded paddock. That barrier was doubled in height after this incident. Now the most spectacular Speed Week crash. Nance Peters spins off Calamity Corner. A la Waltrip a year ago, bounces back on the track and is nailed by Jim Hulbert in a fiery explosion. It's a testament to the strength of the cars that none of these crashes produced critical injury. The question remains what to do about that wall.
On that, of course, we've learned now that the wall is going to be changed. What about the speed of the cars? Is it time to slow them down?
My opinion is that it is time to slow them down, Dave. If they slow them down about 10 miles an hour, I think it would help to eliminate that problem and also would help to make a lot better racing. But they are doing something about that wall, we understand.
And that's important. Well, we're going to be back to meet the Daytona 500 winner as Motor Week continues. Cale Yarborough has joined us now here in the Goodies Racing Center. Cale, you've won the Daytona 500 4 times now. Only 3 men have won that race more than once. I wonder how this one compared with the other 3.
Well, they were all good, Dave. This one was very good. We just had a good week in general. Everything went good for us, and Wardell Wilson, my chief mechanic, had the car set up just right, and everything just went good for us all week. Very seldom you have that kind of week, but we put it together.
Your car could go to the front all day long. A lot of us thought it was strong enough that you could have pulled away from that lead draft. Instead, you waited. I want to know who made the decision to hold off until the last lap and gamble on passing Waltrip as we see the highlight of it here.
Well, I made the decision, Dave. That's one thing that Waddell and Harry Rainier, who owns my car, they just don't ever tell me how to drive it. They leave it up to me, and I felt like that I was in the position to know what I need to do, and I felt like I could get in the lead and maybe pull away, but I felt like that being in second, I had a sure thing, and I didn't know. Right, here comes the pass now, and we just had it set up just like I had planned it, and it worked.
Did it ever cross your mind that it might not work, that something might go wrong?
Well, yeah, you only have one chance at it, and anything can happen, but thank goodness it didn't.
201 miles an hour in qualifying, a new record. Ned Jarrett says the cars are a little too fast. How do you come down on the issue of slowing them down?
I agree with Ned 100%. I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I'm not afraid to run 200 miles an hour if it's safe, but I think it would be much better racing for everybody if they slowed the cars down a little bit.
Well, tomorrow, of course, you're going to go from the Super Speedway to your first appearance in 4 years here at Richmond. We wish you good luck in that one. We're going to miss you in the TBS broadcast booth.
Thank you, Dave. I'll miss you.
Cale Yarborough, the Daytona 500 winner, got his 4th victory there, but his car owner, Harry Rainier, also plays pretty heavily in the story. He picked up his 3rd Daytona 500 victory as a car owner last weekend, and he, too, gets our congratulations. He also picks up this week's Wrangler U.S. Air Force Reserve Behind the Scenes Award, and he'll get a new outfit from Wrangler. Congratulations, Cale and Harry Rainier. And now the continuing saga of another 500 winner, the Indy 500 champion Tom Sneva left Big Naughty Cotter Racing last fall, took his lucrative Texaco sponsorship with him, or so he thought. Well, an 11th hour Texaco Racing pullout later left Tom without a ride. He has solved that problem. In today's IndyCar world, if the 500 winner doesn't have a ride, even he can find himself unemployed. You've got to be able to take a big buck sponsor to a car owner. Sneva now has Texaco money once again. They have reconsidered, and he has signed on with Teddy Mayer. Camel GT road racing champion Al Holbert is also going IndyCar racing with the Morales Brothers team. In his spare time, he'll continue to do the IMSA GT races with a newly negotiated Lowenbrow sponsorship. He debuts those colors tomorrow down at the Miami Grand Prix. Jim Roller is standing by with a live satellite report from Miami on how they've qualified for that big sports car event.
Well, Dave, as you can see, for the 2nd straight year, Mother Nature has not been kind to the Miami Grand Prix. After almost a full day of practice and qualifying in the rain, the skies cleared, the track dried, creating a mad dash for the first starting spot in tomorrow's Grand Prix. Coming out on top of the scramble, a surprise entrant, former 2-time world driving champion Emerson Fittipaldi. Driving a car entered by race promoter Ralph Sanchez, Fittipaldi says the key to going quick is a good car and keeping it off the wall.
You need a car that has a lot of torque and good handling, good braking, for sure. and try to stay going quick without hitting the wall.
Klaus Ludwig and Bobby Rahal qualified second in a Ford, and Al Holbert, celebrating his new IndyCar deal, will start ninth. The weekend's first race featured a rough-and-tumble GTU contest. Chris Cord, number 99, gets pushed off the road while running second. He came back, though, to win his first race of the season. Cord was even lucky to start. His transporter crashed in Texas on the way to the event. Dave?
The Miami Grand Prix will be seen tomorrow on SIN. Meanwhile, the home of the Atlanta Braves baseball team will see another of this weekend's major motorsports events. Atlanta Fulton County Stadium hosts the Wrangler Supercross Series tonight. TBS Sports will be bringing you a one-hour special with blow-by-blow coverage of that big race next Saturday night. And that will air just 1 hour after Motor Week. We invite you to tune in for that. It looks like they are going to have good weather tonight in Atlanta for that race, which has been plagued in recent years by heavy rains and cold temperatures. Up north of Atlanta in the Chattahoochee National Forest, the 1984 Pro Rally season was supposed to have opened this weekend. Well, it didn't happen. They had all the permits obtained, but then a Forest Service bureaucrat canceled the event. Elsewhere on the motorcycle road racing scene, Randy Mamola finished just behind fellow Americans Kenny Roberts and Freddie Spencer in the '83 World Championships. But then he, too, like Tom Sneva, lost his ride and said he'd sit out 1984. That plan has changed. The Honda factory has given Randy a bike for selected World Championship events, and he'll also join the American team for the U.S. versus Great Britain Match Race Series on Easter weekend. Peace talks in world endurance road racing. American and European officials have been fighting over car specifications. At the recent 24 Hours of Daytona, representatives of both sides sat down and started to negotiate uniform rules to apply on both sides of the Atlantic. We suspect that means the Europeans are ready to accept the American format, and that very likely events like Daytona, Sebring, and this weekend's Miami Grand Prix could become World Championship races in the near future. The biggest amateur motorsports event of the year, the National Runoffs at Road Atlanta, qualifying last week in Texas.
Drivers in 23 categories go to these events hoping to rank in the top 4 regionally and thus earn an invitation to the Nationals. In Sunday's Formula Ford action, Californian Kerry Bren, number 27, held runner-up Joe Marino of Beaumont, Texas at bay, but Bren was later penalized for illegal blocking. Marino up to the number 1 spot. Bren has appealed. A couple of reigning national champs in the results. Terry McKenna wins twice, and Ron Tamborine comes back Sunday after losing on Saturday.
Well, Ken Squire and Buddy Baker will host tomorrow's TBS Sports live telecast of the Richmond 400, and Ken will join us here in the Goodies Racing Center at Richmond right after this. Sprint car racing is now a featured attraction of Daytona Speed Week. This year, an 11-race series at Floor Tracks crowned the champion of spring training for sprints.
As last Saturday's 30-lap series finale thundered under the green, Ohio's Rick Ferkel jumped into the early lead. For 13 laps, he stretched it, then all that hard work went down the drain. The caution light on for Ricky Allen of Montgomery, Texas. He needed the big hook after tagging the turn 1 wall. On the restart, World of Outlaws veteran Doug Wolfgang broad slid into the lead that he held all the way to the finish, despite the sideways pressure of reigning World of Outlaw champion Steve Kinzer in yellow. Kinzer needed that charge to second place. It enabled him to pull out the series title by a scant 2 points over Lee Osborne, who settled for 7th Saturday night.
And with that, it's time to get the lowdown on the Richmond 400. Ken Squire will anchor tomorrow's live TBS Sports telecast. We'll get underway at 1:05 Eastern Time, and right now he's standing by with one of the most famous names in all of racing and a man who's healing up from a headache. Ken?
Yes, indeed. You know, everybody talks about the man who ends up with the diamonds, in this case, Cale Yarborough, but there were 41 drivers that ended up with coal in their Christmas stocking in that $1 million Daytona 500. The 120 members of the press voted for the guy who had the biggest headache. And let's go to the videotape as to who came up with what they declared was the headache of the year at Daytona for 1984. And you're looking at the man who started in 34th position, car number 43. He overwhelmed the field in the first 150 miles of the event. Looked like he was on his way to his 8th win in the Daytona 500. And then all of a sudden, it began to smolder. And the Goodies Headache Award, as voted by the press, went to car number 43. That was Richard Petty. And Richard, that was a headache.
That's the kind of headaches you don't like to have.
Okay, that one is behind you. What I really thought, as we take a look at that tape, that the guy who should have got the Goodies Award last week was Robert Yates. Your engine, Bobby Allison's engine, Trevor Boyce's engine, all three broke a cam, I understand, about the same lobe, and put you out of the race.
Yeah, there was just a bad batch of billets that they had to grind all the cams on, and we just all happened to wind up with them. And you know, we ran good. Everything worked good. Bobby run good. All of us run good, but we wasn't there at the end.
Well, the one award that nobody wants, the Goodies Award, is up again tomorrow here at Richmond. You're the all-time winner of this event. How about it?
Well, I don't know. We're starting a pretty good ways back here, but we're running pretty good. And I think by the end of the race, I think we'll give some of the rest of them some headaches.
The car number 43, short track car, against this field, the best field they've ever had. What are the chances?
Well, I'd say ours is as good as anybody else's. We've won this race so many times. We've done it before. We can do it again.
Richard Petty will be starting in the 15th position for tomorrow's running of the Richmond 400 here on the Richmond Fairgrounds. And David, with the illustrious field we've got here, it's going to be a dandy race live on TBS.
Well, Ken, thank you very much. Good luck to you, Richard. And now let's move on and name, I think probably an obvious choice, for our champion spark plug Racer of the Week.
Cale Yarborough went to Daytona loaded for bear. He set a new track record of nearly 202 miles per hour in qualifying. That guaranteed him the pole, but he didn't let up, overwhelming the field in his 125-mile qualifying race Thursday. Of course, Cale's big moment came with this masterful move inside Darrell Waltrip on the last lap to win his fourth 500 and his second straight. Only 3 men in history have won this race from the pole. Cale's done it twice. Only Fireball Roberts in 1962 won the pole, the 125 qualifier, and the 500. Caleb is definitely in some fast company. Cale Yarborough, Daytona 500 winner for the second straight year, is our champion Racer of the Week.
Well, the company may not be quite as fast tomorrow. The speeds here at Richmond not approaching 200 miles an hour, but running right at 100 on this half-mile oval and running for more money than ever before in the history of short track racing. $250,000 on the line tomorrow for the Richmond 400. You'll see it live here on TBS Sports. We take the air at 1:05 with complete coverage. Back next Saturday at this same time with another edition of MotorWeek Illustrated. It's been fun being here today. We'll see you next Saturday. I'm Dave Despain, live from Richmond, Virginia, Fairgrounds Raceway.